He shattered the one thing I could never replace. Am I the a-hole for thinking about breaking up with my boyfriend because he hated that I spent money on my parents? I've been with my boyfriend for a little over a year. We're both doctors, and we met while working at the same hospital. Before I get into what happened, you need a little background. My parents are both doctors too. They made great money throughout their careers, but they never lived like rich people. Instead of buying expensive houses or luxury cars, they lived modestly, donated to charity, sent money to family in Mexico, and even volunteered on medical missions. Growing up, they gave me incredible opportunities. They paid for my education, helped me through medical school, bought me a reliable car, and even surprised me with a new mattress when I casually mentioned my back hurt. Because of them, I graduated with very little debt, while many of my colleagues owed hundreds of thousands of dollars. They also retired and moved back to Mexico, leaving me the paid-off family home. I only pay the property taxes and utilities, and since I rent rooms to my boyfriend and a few roommates, everyone's monthly costs stay low. So yes, my parents have done an unbelievable amount for me. Once I finally finished residency and started earning real money, I wanted to give something back. My mom had always admired Louis Vuitton bags, but refused to buy one because she thought it was too expensive for herself. So I surprised her with one. I bought my dad a helicopter model he'd always wanted. Then I took them out for a fancy dinner. My mom actually cried and begged me to return the purse because she thought it was too much. I told her absolutely not. I wanted them to know how grateful I was for everything they'd done for me. Every now and then, if I have extra money after bills and savings, I'll send them a little cash and tell them to spend it on themselves. Not because they need it, just because it makes me happy. I know that one day, if I have children, my priorities will change. Even my parents tell me that. But right now, while I can, I enjoy doing nice things for them. Well, my boyfriend absolutely hates it. The latest argument started because he saw me buying my parents plane tickets to come visit me. He asked why I would pay for their flights when I was already planning to visit them myself. I explained that even though they could technically afford the trip, they're retired now, and I'd rather make it easier so we can see each other more often. Instead of understanding, he called me a spoiled, rotten child. He said my parents had enabled me my entire life. What confused me was that anytime I helped my parents, he'd say they were too dependent on me. But whenever they helped me growing up, he'd insist that's just what parents are supposed to do. I finally snapped. I told him that if he really had such a problem with my parents supporting me, maybe he shouldn't be living in the house they paid for. If he hated it so much, he was welcome to go rent a $2,000 apartment instead. The argument exploded. There was screaming. And then he destroyed a sentimental vase my grandmother had made for me. He stormed out and got a hotel. I sat there crying, wondering if this relationship was even worth saving. Later that night, my best friend and roommate came home. After hearing everything, she looked at me and admitted she'd noticed red flags about him for a long time. She told me he was incredibly difficult to work with at the hospital. If interns made mistakes, he'd insult the schools they graduated from. He once made an undergraduate volunteer cry. At home, he'd criticize everyone over tiny things. If someone left dishes in the sink while they were still eating, he'd make sarcastic comments about lazy people. She admitted she hadn't said anything before because those seemed like small issues. But this fight, this wasn't small. She told me I shouldn't ignore it. So, after a few drinks, we packed all of his belongings into a suitcase. Honestly, we spent more time laughing than packing. The next morning, he came back. I wanted to hear him out. People make mistakes. Sometimes what matters most is how they handle them afterward. Instead of apologizing, he texted that he was sorry I had taken his criticism the wrong way. He even claimed someone needed to criticize me because everyone else just agreed with me. Not exactly an apology. When he saw the suitcase, though, suddenly he became much more apologetic. So I asked him one simple question. What about the vase? He looked at me and said, "What about the vase?" I just stared at him. Finally, he muttered that maybe we could smooth down the broken pieces and turn them into a bracelet. I told him if I'd wanted a bracelet, I would have asked for one. Then I explained something he'd never seemed to understand. Every time I tried to do something nice for my parents, he had to ruin the moment with negative comments. Instead of acknowledging that, he admitted what was really bothering him. He was worried that if we got married, I'd always prioritize my parents financially. He said helping family could become a burden. I pointed out that my parents didn't need financial support. If anyone would be financially dependent in our future, it would probably be him because of his student loans. That made him angry. He admitted the real issue. He was jealous. He said I was lucky because I didn't have debt. Then he questioned whether I'd even become a doctor without my parents. He even suggested maybe I'd gotten into medical school because of family connections. When I explained that wasn't true, he switched arguments and accused me of lacking ambition instead. At that point, I was exhausted. Nothing I said mattered. I simply told him to leave. He asked if we were really breaking up over this. I told him I couldn't be with someone who secretly resented my family every time I spent time with them. Even if he stayed quiet, I'd always know what he was thinking. So we broke up. Make sure you follow for more videos, posted day relevant comments. Commenter, don't you dare let that man back into the house your parents worked for. He destroyed something your grandmother made. He's shown you exactly who he is. You're right. Reading that made me cry again. Another commenter pointed out that it wasn't just the disagreement. It was the fact that he yelled, insulted her, criticized how she spent her own money, and then destroyed her property. The original poster admitted that during the fight, part of her already knew she should end the relationship. She was only hesitating because dating as a doctor with such a demanding schedule felt incredibly difficult. Update. Nearly 2 months later, the original poster explained that her best friend had revealed even more red flags after the breakup. Her ex constantly belittled coworkers, mocked interns, and criticized roommates over the smallest things. Looking back, she realized this behavior wasn't new. She'd simply overlooked it. When they had their final conversation, he never truly accepted responsibility. Instead, he focused on how unfair life had been to him compared to her. After she officially ended things, he even tried one last tactic. He texted her saying it was illegal to kick him out without notice. Thankfully, it was only an attempt to get a reaction. He ended up moving in with a friend. The original poster also decided to turn the broken pieces of her grandmother's vase into a mosaic so she'd still have a meaningful reminder of it. So tell me, am I the a-hole